Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. Just before we get started, if you just want to drop into the questions box there your name and where you're tuning in from today, we'll just make sure that that's all working properly, and also we'll just wait a few more minutes just while the last few people pop in. So if you want to just drop your name and where you're tuning in from, that'd be great. Morning Alex, thanks for coming. Sakari from London, good to have you here. Gabriella. Thanks, Joe. Steve from Hamilton, thanks for coming. Rod and Sophie, nice to have you guys. Excellent. Mark and Liam and Ryan. Dawn, Yuan from Wellington, nice to have you. Alicia from Oamaru, welcome. And Julie and Linda. David, thanks for tuning in. And Leanne as well from Cambridge, nice to have you here. And Rose and Robin, awesome, great to have you guys. Cool. Hey, let's get started. So I'm just going to flick on the camera here for a second. So I'm Greg, and this is Jeremy, and we're really excited today to be able to share with you some of the information about getting more inquiries from your website. Hopefully, lots of you have signed in for our previous kind of basic SEO webinar, and today will just kind of be an advancement on that as well. So if you've got any questions, Jeremy's going to be here the whole time to answer those, so feel free to drop them into the questions box. And he'll kind of interject and we'll go through those questions and answer them. And at the end, we'll have a question answer time as well, so feel free to do that. Cool, let's get underway and we will get started. Excellent. So what we're wanting to look at today is how to increase those inquiries from your website. And that's obviously the age-old question of how to get more business in the door. And not just business, but really quality business as well. So there's two things to increase the inquiries that come through your website. So the first thing is obviously getting more visitors to your website. So that's really important, actually getting people there. And then the second part is actually once those visitors are there, actually getting them to make contact, which we'd call conversion. So once they've arrived on your website, actually getting them to make contact. So we're going to talk about both of those things today. So we've got four kind of key things we want to chat about this morning. So the first thing is how to get more traffic in really competitive search categories. So what we find is that if it's not a very competitive area you're in, or you're the only person in your area that does your service or business or product, then it's fairly easy to be found in Google for that. It's when you get into really competitive search categories, that's when it gets more difficult. So that's kind of what we want to focus on first. So the first thing you can do is to create landing pages for specific search terms. So here's an example that I want to share with you. So this is a client of ours, and they are selling natural organic pet food is one of their things. So what they've created here is a landing page for a specific brand that they're selling. So this could be a service that you offer, it could be a product, and it's quite specific. So the name of their brand is Harrington's, and that sells natural pet food. And so we'll go into more detail about this and about setting up these landing pages and what to focus on. But this is a really good way of getting more search for those really competitive search terms. So you can see they've got this whole page here, and the whole page is dedicated towards Harrington's pet food. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. Potentially it's different services. You might have 3 key services. You might have a services page on your website, but instead of having those 3 services just on the main services page, you might have a landing page for each of those services, and that just gives Google a better chance of realizing that that's a service that you are trying to rank for and getting more traffic there. The other good thing is that it's actually, from a conversion point of view, really specific to the searches that people are making. So, so the first point is looking at those landing pages and adding those landing pages for key services and key products. The second one is to write blog posts on commonly searched terms to your industry. So what we find is that blogs are a really, really good way of getting more traffic. And the reason for that is Google loves new content and Google loves dated content, so content that has a date next to it. And so by writing those blog posts on commonly searched topics in your industry, you're giving Google, again, the best chance of going, these guys know what they're talking about these search terms. And so here's an example from one of our clients again. So these guys work specifically with accountants and professional development, and so they've got all these blog posts about, you know, outsourcing leadership, managing poor performance, all these things, all to do with their industry. And within those blog posts, there's all the good keywords that they're trying to rank for. If they were trying to target a specific service or a specific search term, then actually using that service and search term in the main heading of the blog post, the main name of the blog post is going to be even better. So the other thing you can do is get links to your website from other reputable websites or industry bodies. So things like directories. So if there's directories, if you're a painter and you're a part of, say, the Master Painters Association, and they've got a directory on their website, then you can get links from there. Being able to guest blog. So that's where you might have an industry website that blogs regularly about your specific industry. If you've got blog posts, you can actually get them guest blogged on their blog and then linked back to your website. So that's really valuable as well. And then partnerships. So if you're in partnership with other businesses within your industry or even out of your industry, getting links back from their website to your website is going to be beneficial as well for those more competitive search terms. So here's an example, like I mentioned, Master Painters, who's a client of ours, and they've got this directory listing here, and so the people who have websites have got the links back to their website. So in a section about painters for Auckland, and so that's going to obviously help Google notice them as a painter in Auckland. So targeting long tail search terms. What we mean by long tail, historically people have always gone for the shorter phrases, things like, you know, if you're an insurance broker, maybe it's insurance and then your town name, or if you were a painter, maybe it's painter in Auckland. But long tail search terms, people do like to search longer phrases. So if you've got a longer phrase that might work, an example we had with a client in the UK, they were wanting to be found, they sold trees that were called Acer palmatum, and so they said, oh, we want to be found for the word Acer. Well, Acer is also a computer brand. There's 20 million searches a month for the word Acer. None of those people who search the word Acer are actually looking for them. And so what we worked on with them is what's some longer phrases that we can work for. And so they said, well, the Acer palmatum is a Japanese maple, which is what most people would call it. So we're going to call it, we're going to say Japanese maple, and then they were selling them online. So Japanese maple, buy online, UK, and there was 20 searches a month for that search term. Now those 20 searches are looking exactly for what they had to offer, so they're really, really valuable. And so those 20 are better than all the 20 million that are searching for Acer, and of the 20 million searching Acer, none are wanting a Japanese maple. So targeting some of those longer search terms, the Pure and Wholesome example I gave you is a really good example of that, where if people are searching for Harrington's pet food NZ, then that's a longer phrase, and this page is more likely to come up. So thinking about what are those longer phrases that people search for. They might be, there might be less searches for them, but they're less competitive. So that's something to consider as well. And then using AdWords as a bridge while you're working on your organic. So AdWords, as we know, those are the ads that pop up at the top of a Google search. They're often, they're always instant. So as soon as you set up a campaign, that day you can be ranking for that keyword. However, they can be expensive, and especially in these competitive search terms. So, you could be looking $10, $15, $20 a click for a keyword. So they are instant. So if you're really struggling to rank for something and you're working on the organic, so the natural ranking, but you're just not getting up there fast enough, then AdWords can be a really good way to be there quickly. However, organic is higher effort, but it has longevity, and Google really likes it. So often we suggest to people, go to AdWords, get that going to get you right up the top of a search, and then work on your organic in the background. If you just solely rely on AdWords and don't do anything on organic, it can be really, really expensive, and you won't have the same conversion. So yeah, by all means, look at AdWords and use that, but just be aware it can get expensive, and organic is by far the better way of doing that.
And by organic, we just mean regular search engine optimization, so getting your site showing up in regular search results.
Yeah, cool. So here's an example of that, and there's been one little tweak on this recently. So this is, again, Pure and Wholesome. They've got a keyword. They're a newish business, so they're for natural cat food. They've got a Google AdWord right there, so you can see that here. And so they're using that to kind of increase their organic while they're working on that. And then also over here, there's a new thing that Google's launched called Google Shopping, and this is great for online stores, which I know most of you aren't in that space, but this is a ad as well that you pay for, and the conversion of this by initial kind of results that people are getting is much higher than these AdWords here. So this is another way of doing that as well. So it's a new feature that we're launching in the next little while, so keep an eye out for that if you're doing e-commerce. Google My Business. So you've probably, if you've been on a few online classes, you've heard us talking about Google My Business, but I'll show you what that is. But if you improve the quality of that Google My Business listing, again, that's giving Google more reasons to rank you higher. So by Google My Business, we're meaning this section here, which is done when it's location based, or and so you can improve it by adding your keywords into the name of your business, getting more reviews, make sure you're filling out all of your information here, and then adding photos. You can do posts on here and all sorts of things. So there's lots of stuff you can do around your Google My Business listing, and that's going to help that organic search as well. And then also building a social media following, and then driving traffic to your website and your blog from your social media pages. So obviously social media is a whole nother thing, and we'll do online classes about that. But if you can get people coming from that social media, so first of all, get a following, get them to come from your social media through to your website and your blog, that's going to help as well. That's another thing Google takes into account, is your social media activity. So for example, this client here, they've got a few blog posts that they're linking back to their own website, and then this one here is a helpful article from Forbes. And so by mixing that up, their own stuff with other people's stuff, it's not about selling, it's just about giving helpful advice. That's really beneficial from a search kind of search system as well. So make sure that you're linking from that social media back to your website. And don't forget word of mouth and networking. So we hear this all the time, that people say, I get all my business word of mouth, and that's great, and most businesses do, and we know that word of mouth and networking are the best ways to get really good quality leads. So even you need to be working on that organic, and that widens your reach, because you can't meet everybody out there, but don't forget that it's really, really powerful, and it's high conversion. So make sure you are focusing on that as well. But the organic and your AdWords and all that sort of stuff is going to really help that, because people, when they meet you, they might not need you right then, but then they can they'll search for you later, and you want to be found for that. Cool.
Sorry, Greg. Just one thing to note there on the word of mouth is for businesses that where the majority of their leads might be word of mouth, it's the traffic might inherently be lower, but because those leads are higher value, if you think of a building company, say building only high value new homes, someone is probably less likely to get that company to build them a house just coming in cold without a referral. So if you're say a building business building new homes, then every little visitor that comes to your site could potentially be that next one that wants a six, seven, $800,000 home built. So that's where we're going to talk later in the class about conversion, and traffic is just one side of the coin. Conversion is really critical, especially if you're inherently a lower traffic type of website.
Yeah, cool. And that's where that networking pays off. You've found someone, you've chatted to them, and then they jump on your website, and then you're looking to convert from there. So the next section is about landing pages, which we've briefly talked about already, but I want to go through in a bit more detail with you. So landing pages for those really searched services and products that you offer. So the first question to ask yourself is, what are the keywords you're wanting to target? So what services, what keywords, what key products, that sort of thing that you're wanting to be found for, and you want to make sure you're really specific with those. With landing pages, you probably only want to be targeting 1 or 2 at a max 3 kind of keywords and phrases. Okay. The second thing, make sure that those keywords exist multiple times within the content on that page, so that the keywords are actually in the text content, they're in the headings, they're in the buttons, they're in the links, they're everywhere throughout that page. And I'll show you a little trick of how you can see how many times a word shows up in a page. So actually making sure that the keywords you're wanting to target are on these landing pages multiple times. So make sure that the keyword exists in the title tag and the description tag. So that's the kind of the back end metadata that you can add to your website. For those of you with Rocketspark websites, in the Get Found section of your dashboard, there's a section in there where you can add in these keywords. I'll show you what those look like in a second. Make sure that the page name, the URL, is keyword rich. So if you're wanting to rank for a specific keyword, actually use that as the name of the page. And there's probably a mistake some people make. They have, they'll say things like about us instead of about our business name. And if that business name we're wanting to be ranking for, then you chuck it into the URL, use it as the page name, because it's going to get better search results. And have links to that page from other pages on your website, especially your homepage, but other pages as well. So link to those pages, because Google sees all these internal links as well. And then make sure you optimize the content about that topic and tailor the experience for people who are coming to that page. So if you're a excavation company and you've got one of your landing pages that you're setting up for your services about bobcats, because you've got those smaller diggers, bobcats that you're wanting to use, then make sure that all the photos on that page are of bobcats being used, and about landscaping and those smaller jobs. If you're putting up, you've got a page all about bobcats, but then you're putting out photos of massive diggers, it doesn't connect. So make sure you're tailoring that experience to them, but also using language that they would understand as well. So you might need to change the way you phrase things or word things so that the visitors to that page can really understand what you're trying to tell them. So we'll go back to the pure and wholesome example here, and this is a really good example, like I mentioned before. So they're trying to target the key phrase Harrington's pet food, and then if we scroll further down, you'll see they've got quite a lot of content here. They've got a heading here, Harrington's for dogs, so they're wanting to be ranking for that. As we come further down the page, they've got some of their key products here with phrases again, Harrington's puppy food, Harrington's dry dog food, which is that long tail we were talking about, Harrington's wet dog food, puppy treats. Then we've got a section for Harrington's for cats, and again we've got the key products there, Harrington's kitten food, cat food, and cat treats. Then we've got Harrington's rabbit and guinea pig food. Okay, and so same again, the key categories. So you can see that they've really targeted this page to the phrase Harrington's pet food. Now this page isn't in their menu, and I'll show you where it links from in a second. Now, before I was talking about the little trick you can do for seeing how many times your keyword shows up on a page, if you're on a PC, you want to go to the page and hit Control F at the same time. If you're on a Mac, you want to do Command F, and up pops this little search box. And what that's doing is searching this page for those keywords. So if I search Harringtons, you can see that the word Harringtons is on this page 18 times. And now if I scroll through, you'll actually see where they're highlighted. So you can see all the times that Harringtons is showing up there. Okay. If I then search, let's check dog food. So we've got that 3 times. So it's once here, and once at the bottom. Okay, as a link. If I search cat food, okay, cat food's on there a bunch of times as well. So this is a really quick way to check if you think I'm trying to rank for this phrase. Is this phrase even on my page? Now, one thing I noticed when I was setting up for this site doesn't have Harrington's pet food anywhere on the page. So that would be the feedback I'll give to these guys, is say, hey, look, you need to, if that's a key phrase that people are searching, and maybe they've done the keyword research and people aren't actually searching that, but if they are, then they need to get that added in there. Now, yes, we've got Harringtons and pet food, but from our experience, actually having the full phrase side by side in one sentence actually does have a bigger effect than having it separated out. So yeah.
So yeah, this what Greg's showing here, this is an e-commerce website, but totally the same thinking applies for service businesses, accountants, builders. It's really just having a landing page for each of your key services, like Greg said. So you might be an accountant, but you might offer different accountants offer different ranges of services, or insurance business offering different types of insurance. So it's just a page that's about a specific part of your overall offering. All of the same theories apply, even though this is an e-commerce example.
So if we go back, we talked about links from other pages. Now they've got a page that's called Pet, and on here, they're linking off to their dog section, their cats, their furry friends, and down here, this is where you can link through to their Harringtons page. So if I click on this logo, it's going to load up the page we've just been on. Okay, so that's where they've got links. Now they should and could do more links as well through from different places on their website through their Harringtons page. And if they link from text rather than from an image, that's better as well. So linking from a text link to this Harringtons page, or whichever service you're offering, is better again. So really quickly, make sure you're targeting the right keywords, or what are those keywords you're wanting to target. Make sure those keywords exist multiple times in the content. Make sure the keywords are in the title tag and the page name. I'll just flick back to show you those. So here we've got, if we go up here to the page name, you can see that it's got Harrington's pet food in the page name, and then up here in the title tag, which is what sits up in the little tab option here, it says Harrington's Natural Pet Food NZ, and then away it goes, it's got other things in there as well. So both of those things are sitting in there. Make sure you have links from other pages and optimize the content about that topic and tailor that experience. So those landing pages are really important, and one of the key things I'd take away today for you is just to go, okay, what are those key services we're wanting to offer, and how do we make sure that we've got landing pages for those? And then the next thing to think about with landing pages is actually landing pages for towns and locations that you service. So some of us aren't restricted to one location. We've got multiple locations that we're wanting to be found for, and that's where landing pages for specific towns and locations are really valuable as well. So it's all the same strategies that we've just talked about for services and products, but making sure that the town keywords are on the services page as well. So here's an example that one of our clients has done. So My Mortgage, they were targeting 3 towns around Cambridge. So they set up a page for Cambridge mortgage broker, and 2 for the other towns around us as well. So and that all the content on there was set towards Cambridge, and the video that he put on there was talking about him and living in Cambridge and how he helps Cambridge people and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, he could definitely do more in terms of the content on this page, but he's found that the results he's got from this are excellent. And when I was last talking to Adam, he was saying that he was coming up as first for all 3 of the towns for Cambridge Mortgage Broker for that town.
And so again, with this example, it's that two-sided coin of this page is helping him get more traffic for local searches, but then it's also helping him better convert that traffic because people feel that they will trust him better because he's in their local area. So it's that marriage again of getting people to the site and then making them more likely to make contact.
Cool, so that's all about landing pages. So now how do we design your site to convert more traffic into inquiries? So how do you actually do that? There's some really practical things I'm going to talk about here. So you know, feel free to kind of have, if you've got your website up side by side and you can kind of be ticking these off, maybe just focus on your homepage while we're doing this. But then again, it applies across the whole, all the pages on your website, so feel free to do that. So conversion is obviously really critical. For competitive search areas, like we're talking about, overall traffic can actually be quite a bit lower. Like I was talking about with that Japanese maple example, they were actually prepared to say, actually, we don't need 20 million people who don't want my product, but we only need 20. But then when those 20 come on the site, we actually have to get them to convert. So it might be lower for those really competitive search terms. So conversion becomes even more critical because that traffic could actually be referrals, like Jeremy was talking about before, about the builder and the networking they've done. So if you've got referrals, you want them to convert, but also, you know, we really want to hold on to these people who are visiting our site for these competitive search terms because we know that traffic might actually be lower. And referrals are actually much more likely to convert because they've actually got that warm introduction. They're not just coming in cold to your website. So as long as we give them the best chance of converting, they're more likely to convert than just someone who's come via a Google search or something like that. So first thing, make sure it's visually engaging and it has really high quality images. So nothing worse than arriving on a website and seeing either bad images and that they are bad quality, or just that they're so small you can't see them or whatever. So this is one of our clients, Canyons. They run canyoning adventures in the Kodonga Valley, and I mean, that photo is just amazing. And actually, if you go to their website, they've got a slideshow of really amazing photos. So make sure it's really visually interesting and people aren't going to be bored coming to your site, because really quickly, if people are bored, they'll disappear. So visually engaging. So clear call to actions on every page. So what we mean by that is getting people to do something. So this is one of our clients accounted for, and so as you come down their homepage, you can see they've got these links here to their key services. So this is their farm forward packages and their biz forward packages. Down here, you know, if you're unsure which one, let us know. And so, you know, contact us. There's a call to action here. There's also a subtle call to action to go to their blog up in the top corner here. And right down their whole homepage, there's call to action after call to action after call to action. So yeah, actually giving people something to do rather than just giving them text. Because if you just give them text, that you're not telling them to do anything. They get the information they need and then they go away. So make sure you've got those call to actions on your page. So, and also kind of following on from that, ensure that there's enough call to actions on longer pages. So longer pages are really good for SEO, making sure that you've got enough content on your page, but sometimes we get caught up in putting too much text on there without it being broken up and without the call to actions. So to show that we kind of practice what we preach, on our website, as you come down our homepage, there's a call to action at pretty much every section that is relevant to that section. So you can see right at the top here, play video, click on that, plays a video about our partner program. Getting our free e-commerce beginner's guide, get my free book, there it is, high quality web design options, off you go. So there's those call to actions all the way down the homepage and on lots of the pages. So having persuasive video content, and video is becoming more and more prominent on web. As internet speeds improve, we can have video. And so one of our clients, Rob May Builders, they got a video made, and it's a really persuasive video. It's quite an emotive video, and having spoken to them about it, they say that the number of people who comment on it, they've been referred to 3 or 4 different builders to build their home, and Rob May are the only ones that have a really nice video, and it's the owner, Jono, talking about why he loves building and what his favorite thing about building is, and that sort of thing. It creates an emotional connection, and the number of clients they get because of that is huge. Now, video is not cheap to get created, and you need to spend the money to make sure it's right, but it is really, really valuable, and helps with that conversion really well. So if you do have the budget for that, then video can be really beneficial. So good quality testimonials or case studies, and if you can get them with photos and or video, that's even better. So written testimonials, that's good. Written testimonials with photos is even better, and then video testimonials are absolutely the best.
So we've just got a question here, Greg, from Ruth. How can we add video to the website?
So yeah, there's a few ways you can do that, but the way that we do it on Rocketspark is to, all you need is to upload it to YouTube or into Vimeo, which is similar to YouTube, and then you can just get the URL, the link address of that, and there's a block, a video block. Paste that URL in there, and then the video will show up. If you'd like to do it as like a full screen feature area, like the one you saw with Rob May, just contact our support team and we can let you know around that. There's a bit of customization we need to do. This is a little bit of cost to add that in, but if you're happy just to put it in as a block, and it's going to use the YouTube or the Vimeo player, so it's really normal for people to use that. So yeah, that would be how you add the video to the website. The reason we host it with Vimeo and YouTube is there's a bunch of reasons, but probably the main one is it loads much quicker because it's not actually loading on the website. So yeah, if you go to our support section, support.rocketspark.com, and just search video, there's a guide there about how to do that as well. So just on the testimonials and case studies, here's an example. So a building company, they've got all of these projects, and they use these projects as case studies. Lots of their projects have a bunch of text that goes with them as well. So they've got this projects page, outlines all of their projects that they're working on. Click onto it, takes you through to its own page that has all the information, has a whole lot of photos as well. So yeah, that's a really good example of some good testimonials. Video, as I said, video testimonials are the absolute best. So if you can get those from your clients, that's number one.
So we've got another question here, Greg. Can you video link to Facebook? So this was from Suzanne. Yeah, so she could, I'm not certain exactly what Suzanne's asking there, but possibly that's having a video on Facebook. So with Facebook, you can actually upload videos directly to Facebook if you have the video file, and you can then link to your website from that video on Facebook.
Yeah, so adding the URL from Facebook and then putting it into the video block. There's no easy way to do that. We would always suggest putting it up on YouTube anyway. YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. It's owned by Google, and lots of the time when you do a search, a video actually appears. So we would suggest putting them up on YouTube anyway. And if you put them on Facebook, that's great. You can use the Facebook video tool, or you could actually just put your YouTube video on Facebook as well. You can do a link from your website, so a button link or an image link or a text link back to your Facebook video, but we'd always suggest keeping them on your website, because if you're sending them away back to Facebook, that's taking them away from the website. So we'd say upload it to YouTube as well and then put it on your website there. So hopefully that helps, Suzanne. So the next thing is to design for scanning, so visitors can quickly find the information that's most relevant to them. We're really lazy when we're on websites, and we don't take the time to read, especially long blocks of text. So you can see here, this is with Canyons. They've broken up their content into sections and used key headings. So we care about your experience, small groups, not mass tourism, Kiwi owned and operated, real adventure, and experienced and qualified guides. If I'm scrolling through here and I want to know, do they have experienced qualified guides? hey, I've got a section here that I can read all about that. If I want to know, hey, are these guys owned by New Zealanders working in New Zealand, then there's a section there. So making it so it's really easy to scan through and find what you're looking for. Even them having the endorsed visitor activity and the Department of Conservation approved, we want to make sure that these guys, they're going through our natural environment, they're looking after it. That, from a scanning point of view, is really useful. And then as a part of that is to break up long sections of text with headings. So it sometimes is really easy to grab text, chuck it on your website, and have a big block of text. People just don't read it because, as I said, we're lazy when we're online. So again, like here, break it up with those key headings. If we put this all into one big section, then people will be much less likely to read it, and the actual value of having that content on there is less. So breaking up with headings is really important. So make information easy to find in a few clicks, so as easy to find as possible. So you want to make it quick for people to find that key information they need. One of our clients here, they have got a product that they've tested by vets, and people wanting to know how to apply. So on their homepage, there's links, tested by vets, find out more. It takes you to that page about that. How to apply the product takes you to that page as well. So yeah, really quickly giving people opportunities to get into those. That content is really important with 1 or 2 clicks. If you've got key information, put it further down your homepage. So if there's those people who scroll down your homepage, you can access it really quickly. Put it in the menu if it's really, really important, or at least if you've got a services page, they can click on that and then really quickly find the key services.
Yeah, and just one thing to note on that, sometimes when people are asking us about this sort of thing, should I put it in my menu or should I add it on the page? Well, we actually like to give people a few different ways to find the same content, because everyone navigates the web in a different way. One person might naturally gravitate towards favoring the menu, another person might gravitate towards scrolling down a long page, and another person might gravitate towards clicking through to a deeper page in the site from a call to action button. So having just multiple ways for people to navigate through the site is really useful.
So making sure your site works well on mobile and the call to actions work on mobile as well. So that's obviously really important. The same company we were just talking about before with the horse product, it's a Manuka honey product, and so making sure that it looks good on mobile and that you can easily link away to those is important. 50% of most traffic on websites is now via smartphones, so making sure that it works like that is really important. So yeah. So the next thing is about actually ways to capture those inquiries. So we've talked about getting people to your website. We've talked about conversion. So how do we actually capture the inquiries and get more of them? So the first thing is to make sure your phone number is visible on every page if you're wanting calls. So if you want people to pick up the phone and call you, make it as easy as possible for them to do that. If you don't want them to call you, then obviously you don't want to put your phone number everywhere. Here's an example. So this is a building client of ours. You can see up in the top corner, they've got call Dave now and then his phone number. And that shows on every single page on their website. It's also in the footer of their website. It's also on the contact us page, and they've also used it as call to actions around the site as well. So they want their phone to ring. So if that's what you want, then make sure your phone number is visible and fast to find. So contact forms. So using contact forms throughout the site is really important as well. So with Rocketspark, you can quickly add a contact form where someone can add their name, their phone number, their email, and their message. Don't be scared to use them on other pages and not just your contact page. So here's your contact page for one of our clients. They've got it there, but feel free to use it. If you've got a section of text and the key call to action is to contact you, don't be afraid to put the form there as well. And we're going to talk in a second about more complex forms. So if you need more information on that, we'll talk about that. But using that contact us form on other parts of the site is valuable as well. So talking about surveys, application forms, and more advanced contact forms. So there's lots of ways you can do this, lots of really good systems. So Typeform, Jotform, Google Forms, they're all form builders where you can basically just drag and drop and build a really complex form and take that information from your website. So and there's also lots of other embedded systems as well. Lots of systems allow you to to embed forms on your website. If you go to the support center in Rocketspark, if you've got a form you want to embed, just search HTML widgets, I think. So an HTML widget is basically a little bit of code that you can put on your website, and there'll be a guide there that explains how to do that. But all of these are really good ways of taking those more advanced forms. Maybe you've got an application form for your insurance that you want people to fill out before, so that you can get as much information as possible. Maybe it's a design brief. Maybe it's just finding out a little bit more information about their business or something like that. Potentially it could be that from an initial contact, you don't need that information, but once you've had a phone call with them, now you want that information. You can send them a link to a page that has that information. We do this ourselves. If someone contacts us about getting a website custom designed for them, we've got a design brief that we get them to fill out, and it just answers a lot of those questions and gets people thinking about things to do with that. Another example of that, one of our clients, White Picnic, they were doing catering orders, and so they set up a type form, and basically it asks, hey, what's your name? And then you put that in. What are you wanting us to quote on? How much are you wanting to spend? Where do you want this? What day? All those questions. Takes you through the form. And the cool thing with these forms is it can do some really complex things. So if you say to them right at the start, are you wanting us to quote on A, B, or C, 3 different services perhaps, then they say, I need on A, it can then jump to a question specifically about A. But if they choose B, it doesn't show them that question about A, it just jumps them straight to the question about B. So can do some really cool, complex stuff, and you're completely in control of it. So if you're needing that more complex application form or design brief or anything like that, then using those type form and jot form and Google Forms could be a really good way to do that. So lead magnets. So this is something that a few years ago kind of became the thing to do, and there's really real value in it as long as there's logic kind of behind it. So this is content that's downloadable. So giving away a bit of free information to get people's email addresses, phone numbers, names, things like that. So here's an example that we've done. So we, for our e-commerce platform that we've got, we were interested in getting in touch with people like really early on in their e-commerce journey. So we've got a bunch of our blog posts, put them together in a digital book, and so people can sign up. They say, hey, I want to get my free e-commerce book, and then we email it out to them. And with that, we get their email address and their name and where they are on their e-commerce journey, and then we can market to them with email marketing and things like that as well. So lots of people will do it with things like the 5 things you must ask your builder before you build a new house, or the 6 things to be cautious of when you come to changing accountants, or whatever it is. So think about what's that information that that you can give away for free, and then you can set up on your website. You need something like an email marketing system to do this, so something like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, or there's lots of them out there. And basically what you do, you set up the little form that they fill in their name, and then when they've filled that out, that system, email marketing system, MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, will send them an email that has the book on it ready for them, so for them to download. So yeah, so that's how you do that. If you've got questions about that, feel free to let us know, and we're happy to help out about that. And email newsletter signups. So if you are a business that does email newsletters, then have a sign up on your website so that you can update people. If you're not the type of business that does email newsletters, then don't bother. It's just something else that would be cluttering up your website, or something that people will be like, hey, I wanted to hear about them and they never contacted me, or whatever. So if you're the type of business that does those monthly newsletters or quarterly or whatever, and you want people to sign up, then you can set that up. If you don't, then I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. And then finally, social media engagement from the website. So things like having links to your Facebook and your LinkedIn, having feeds, Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds, Twitter, if you're using that, things like that actually on your website. And you can see here on this, for this client, they've got Facebook and LinkedIn, but they also have their Facebook and LinkedIn up here as well, and they've got it in their footer as well. So if you've got the social media and you might only have one or two, then make sure you've got those on your website so that you can get engagement, so that people can go, hey, I'm really interested in this, wonder what they're saying on Facebook or on LinkedIn or things like that. Cool. So that's all we've got to cover for the kind of advanced get more inquiries to your website online class. So if you've got any questions, feel free to fire them through, and Jeremy and I can answer them for you. I'll just kind of cover off what we've covered today. So firstly, we talked about how to get more traffic in those competitive search categories, things with landing pages and things like that. Then we talk more specifically about landing pages and how to use them, target those keywords that you're wanting to be found for, the longer tail keywords, make sure the pages actually have the text content on them that you're wanting to be found for, designing your site to convert more traffic, so actually using call to action buttons and headings and all that sort of stuff, and then finally those ways to capture more inquiries. So yeah, cool. We've got a few questions coming in.
Yep, so we've got one question here from Linda Greg. How can I add another field in my contact form?
So yeah, the Rocketspark contact forms, all they take is name, email, phone number, and a message. So if you're wanting to do more than that, then you probably want to look at those systems I suggested, so Jotform, Typeform, Google Forms, and embed them in the site, and then you can customize them however you like. One thing we've thought about doing more advanced forms, but those other three companies I mentioned, and there's lots of others out there, they actually do a really good job of building forms, and they're really reasonably priced. Some of them are free to use. So I know Jotform has a free version, and they're really easy to use. So if you're wanting to do more complex forms or have more questions in your form, then I definitely suggest using one of those. Then you can do drop-down questions, you can do multiple choice questions, all those sorts of things as well. So you're not just limited to filling that out. There's also if you go to our add-ons page, so rocketspark.com/add-ons, and there's a section in there about forms, so with all the different form builders we use, as well as the email marketing. So Jeremy will paste that into the chat window now for everybody, so that you can connect up with that as well. So we've got a question here from Ryan. Can you use Google Shopping for consultancy services? Good question. I suppose you could. It's probably more targeted towards actual products, physical products.
Yeah, the way it works with Rocketspark is that you would need to be using Rocketspark's e-commerce features and have actual e-commerce products set up in order to use the Google Shopping features. But it's an interesting thought, Ryan, and something that we'll definitely have a chat here about, whether there's opportunities for that, and talk to Google as well.
Cool. We have another question here from Leanne. Sign-up box on the website. However, I'd like something more obvious. There's not going to be sign-ups. Could you suggest something? Would it be a landing page or something similar? Yeah, you could. So I'm assuming you're meaning signing up for like an email marketing system, something like that. Yep, landing page, absolutely. Using images to link through, so just making it more obvious. So have an image, and then sometimes you can make them with those email marketing systems so that there's a pop-up. So when you click on it, it actually pops up. So then you could use whatever you wanted to get people to click on it, and then make it larger or bigger or whatever.
One other thing to note as well is with our stack-specific design controls, you could put that contact form inside a stack on your page and change the background color of that stack, make the heading of that stack really large, so it's, subscribe to our email newsletter for updates, and then have a larger subscribe button as well, just to actually physically make it bigger and more eye-catching.
So just another question about the free forms. So those free forms, assume you mean Google Forms type form, things like that, and around whether they then have access to the information. Yeah, I suppose they would have access to it, but they would have policies in place as to what they're allowed to do with that, which is essentially nothing. They wouldn't be allowed to do that. If you're worried about that, obviously Google, with their Google Forms, they have to be really security conscious. So yeah, I definitely, even though, yep, they would have access to that, I would be very, they're not going to do anything with that. They wouldn't be allowed, and they'd get in big trouble around the privacy acts and things like that. So I wouldn't worry about that at all.
So we've got another question here from Ruth. How often do you recommend posting in the blog?
So the more often the better, to be honest. But obviously there's a time cost of actually creating blogs. If you could do a blog a week, that would be amazing. If you could do a blog every 2 weeks, that's great. A blog a month would be fine. You'd probably want to be doing it once a month to get the real benefit. But the great thing with blogging is that the results of it actually last a really long time. We did a blog recently, well, we've got a blog that we actually wrote in 2013, and it's still bringing in hundreds of leads into our website a month. So there's a lot of people coming to our website because of that one blog article. So even though it feels like, you know, sitting down for half an hour and writing 600 words for a blog might be like, oh, I don't have the time, the long-term benefit of that is just massive. So yeah, if you can do it once a week, great. If you can do it once every 2 weeks, that's great. If you can only do it once a month, then that's fine as well. If you don't have the time, but you really want it, but you could pay someone to do it, then that's great. We have some content teams we work with, and they have special packages that they can do for, like, if you're doing a blog post every single month and you want to pay for that, then that's great. And the good thing with that is you get a really consistent writing style, and they get to know your business and what you're wanting to blog about, and they'll get that done. So yeah, if you are wanting to do that, then feel free to contact us. We can put you in touch with those people. But yeah, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month would be great. So just a question here from Karen as well, about setting up analytics and do a website check. So there's no cost to set up analytics. It's free. And in terms of us, we don't set up analytics for people, but we've got a step-by-step guide with a video. So if you go to our support center, Jeremy will send it through to you. There's a really easy step-by-step guide on how to set up analytics, and there's a video that explains the whole thing as well. So definitely go and jump and do that. In terms of a website check, if you want us to check your website out, we're happy to either have a quick call with you, or if you want to email it through to us, and one of the team can have a look and maybe offer 2 or 3 suggestions. But as I said, the content we've shared with you today is the same content that we would do in a website check. So we just go through and actually do that Command F or Control F. How many times are your keywords actually showing on each of your pages? So that's the kind of thing we would be doing, and we'd just say, hey, look, if you're wanting to rank for this, you should use that keyword more often. If it was around, hey, your photos aren't very high quality, make those better. You don't have enough call to action. So it's all the same content, but more than happy to have a look at it. So feel free just to fire it through to support@rocketspark.com, and one of the team can have a look at that for you. Cool, just got another question. Are blogs useful to let guests know what is happening in the area for an accommodation provider? So yeah, absolutely. The key thing you want to do, yeah, mixing it up with relevant search terms and that sort of thing, as well as the phrases. I suppose the good thing from that point of view for an accommodation provider is if there's a big event happening in town and someone's searching for that, then your blog post is more likely to show up, and then that might then get inquiries to stay if someone's searching for that. The other thing to do is, if someone, say, like, for example, we're based in Cambridge, we have the Māori Cup here every 2 years for the high school rowing, and so if I was running an accommodation and I wanted people to stay with me during Māori Cup, I would write a blog post about Māori Cup, but using the keyword accommodation in there as well. And so then people will, searching for Māori Cup accommodation, that blog post is more likely to show up because it's quite specific. But again, that's the type of search term. If you've got annual events that run in your region, set up landing pages for each of those event types, targeting the key phrase, that event name, accommodation, because that's really valuable, and the location as well. So you can use landing pages, but yeah, blogs could be a good way to do that as well. So yeah, lots of different ways you could do that. Cool. I think that's everything. So unless there's any other questions, thanks so much for joining us today. If you've got any feedback, we'd love to hear that as well. If there's other topics you'd like to hear about with online classes, please feel free just to drop them into the question box, and we'd love to hear that, because there's some really valuable stuff that we would love to share with you if you're interested. But other than that, have a great rest of your day, and if you've got any questions, feel free to let us know. Thanks, team.